How do you do? Jen and Cam feel it would be unkind to present this program without a friendly word of warning. We are about to unfold our true crime podcast, a podcast of lifelong friends who seek to examine crimes which were committed without reckoning upon God. The discussion will be frank, and the subject matter will be of a grim and violent nature. I think it will thrill you. It might even horrify you. So, if there are young children listening, or if you feel unwilling to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to, well, we've warned you.
Hello, Jen. How are ya?
Hey, Cam. What's going on?
Oh, we had a snow day Friday, and it's 60 degrees today. Welcome to Missouri.
Yep.
And it's Sunday, by the way, 2 days later.
It is, right after my kids were off for a non-existent snowstorm on Friday.
Oh, it's great. I love it. Go me.
They only had a half a day, so they were very excited. And actually, I was too. I didn't want to get up early.
All right, I got a case for you. You ready?
Let's do it.
Today, we are headed north to Lake Orion, Michigan. Now, that's a suburb of Detroit. It is August 6th, 1994. A man is discovered on his apartment floor. His body is surrounded by blood. The man had fought furiously to escape his killer, as demonstrated by all the injuries on his face and his body. His apartment showed no signs of a break-in, but it did look like someone had gone through the apartment. The man's name was Kevin Boyd Sr., and his body was discovered by his son, Kevin Jr.
That's heartbreaking.
Kevin Boyd was born in 1951, and he grew up in the suburban Detroit, Michigan. Kevin was extremely outgoing and fun. When Kevin met Lynn, who would become Lynn Boyd, by the way, his family and friends were a bit shocked, as Lynn was pretty much the exact opposite of Kevin. But you know what they say, opposites attract.
Mm-hmm.
The couple would end up marrying in 1975, and they moved out to the Lake Orion area. Now, it's here that Kevin opened up a company that would allow people to rent tools, so a tool rental company, if you will. And the marriage would welcome a son, who they named Kevin Boyd Jr., about a year after the marriage. The marriage would be far from ideal, and sadly it would dissolve in 1990. Lynn had wanted a divorce, as she had met someone, a woman named Julie. Mm-hmm. As with a lot of separations, the matter of how to raise a child split between two homes with two different ideas of child rearing would make for a slippery slope, as we have heard before. And
that's difficult, yes.
As both of us know, coming from divorced families.
You need to discuss that stuff before you get married.
Kind of, yeah.
A little helpful hint from Jen. So, yeah.
Life's lessons from Jen. Things started to calm down as Kevin Jr. grew into a teenager, and he started finding his place in the world. He even took a job with his dad, working alongside him at the rental tool company. Now, that calmness would take a turn as Kevin Jr. started having some trouble at school, being responsible, According to court documents, he even tried to commit suicide, and he bounced around in about 10 different schools before finally quitting and dropping out of school as a sophomore.
Poor kid. That's tough.
It is 4 years after the divorce from Lynn. Kevin would be moving on as well and meeting a lady by the name of Judy Kaminsky. Now, the couple seemed to be really in love and finally happy. All was right with the world until one summer morning when Kevin did not show up to work. Always the conscientious employee, his coworkers knew something was not quite right. But the red flags shot straight up when Kevin Jr. entered the office and asked about his dad. With no one able to answer, Kevin Jr. decides to head over to his dad's apartment to check on him. What the 16-year-old would encounter would be the absolute worst scenario. Kevin Sr. is on his stomach on the floor with the pillow over the back of his head. The blood spatter on the wall would let him know it was no accident. Kevin Jr. ran from the apartment, desperate to get some help. Officers arrive on scene. They realized there was no sign of forced entry, so Kevin may have known his murderer. It was clear that Kevin had been stabbed several times. They would not know how many, which would turn out to be 20 times until later. He also had a severe injury to his head. Police believe that Kevin was asleep in his chair when the first blow struck his head and knocked him to the ground. Then Kevin was viciously stabbed. Since there were 2 weapons used, police are wondering if there were possibly more than one assailant, which would totally make sense. As they work to secure the scene, it's clearly obvious that the killer or killers went through the apartment. They would learn later that several guns Kevin owned were missing. As the investigation kicks in, they need to speak to all of those who were close to Kevin. They start with his girlfriend, Judy. Officers learn that Judy has left town for a bit with her son just prior to Kevin's body being discovered.
Convenient.
Family and friends are shocked to learn that the two were more than just dating. Kevin had made her a partner in his business. So Judy was a partner in his rental business. The following day, police insist that Judy come down to the station for a little talk, if you will, little interview. As police are interviewing Judy, they learn that the pair had taken out a life insurance policy on each other so that if one died, the other would have the money to keep the business afloat, keep the business going, which that's good business sense, I suppose. Judy just became $100,000 richer for the business.
Oh,
Jen.
for the business. Okay.
For the business. They also learned that since Kevin Sr. has passed, his share in the business is, because by this time he has 2, but we'll get to that, goes to his son, Kevin Jr. Now, seems that these 2 people would be the 2 that would benefit the most from Kevin's demise. Police want Kevin Jr. to come in for a chat, but since he's underage, he's 16 at this point, they need to get his mom, Lynn's, permission. Lynn gives authorities permission to interview her son. Kevin Jr. answers all the officers' questions, even though many of the questions were difficult. That would be terrible to have to. You're probably at 16 years old finding out things about your father's murder that you didn't really know. Mm-hmm. Probably should never know.
Finding his body would be terribly traumatic anyway. And then all this other stuff added on top of it, especially with his past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's not a good thing for a kid at 16. For anybody, really.
No, anybody, but especially a kid. Kevin informs officers that on the night of his father's murder, he was with his girlfriend at her house and they were watching movies. He says that he fell asleep on the couch and that's where he remained for the night. His girlfriend backed up his story. Now, Kevin did tell them that he and his father got into an argument, and I guess it was a pretty bad argument, but he also said, it's just a normal fight, nothing so bad that would make me want to kill my father. I should hope not. The following morning, when his dad didn't report to work, he thought something was wrong, and that's when he went to go see what was going on. Ex-wife, Lynn, comes to the station and tells police that she was at home with her girlfriend, Julie, and they, too, were watching movies that evening. When asked who she thought may want to hurt Kevin, she tells them that there's a co-worker that worked with Kevin Sr. named Donald Lucarelli, and his nickname was Guido. Everybody called him Guido. Like Guido, the killer pimp from Risky Business. Little interesting thing that Lynn tells officers about Guido was that not only did he work with Kevin, but maybe Guido wanted the business for himself, and he decided to take Kevin out so that he could have the business. Lynn would also say that Guido / Donald was connected, Jen.
Of course he was.
In the mob.
Says her, yes. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
It always leads back to the mob. Everybody loves to blame the mob. Not saying that the mob's not innocent or that they're innocent, but
just a lot of them. So there's a lot
nice
to blame.
Scapegoat.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's the mob.
It's always
they're not blaming people of color. They're blaming the mob.
Donald comes in and he's open to any and all questions. In fact, he even passes a polygraph. With his name cleared, officers ask him who he thinks may have done this. And funny, he takes that finger that was pointed right at him, Jen, and he turns it right back around to Lynn. Interesting.
Funny how that works.
Funny, right? Police know that they need to take another look at Lynn and Kevin Jr. They learn that the money Kevin Sr. was paying Lynn for, alimony, palimony, child support, all that good stuff, was about to run out. And Kevin Jr. is 16, so that's going to run out indefinitely.
In 2 years anyway, yeah.
Right. Lynn was not very happy about this, and apparently she was quite vocal. She wanted money. She wanted more money. She always wanted more money. Also, when Kevin Jr. gets the businesses to which he is entitled by his dad, remember, he's only 16, so he needs an adult to actually, I guess, be the liaison, the one that was really in charge. And that person would be Lynn. As he became an adult, he would take over with just his name. But until then, he would need an adult supervising him. All of this, Jen, it's not looking so good. Not looking so good right now. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, not for them. No. Especially Lynn.
Somebody's got some secrets. Also of interest to note here is that Kevin Jr. and Lynn did not go to Kevin's burial site after the funeral. They chose not to go to watch their dad and ex-husband be lowered into the ground. However, Jen, they did get their happy little behinds to the courthouse to change ownership of the rental company from Kevin Sr. to Lynn and Kevin Jr.
Oh, that was quick. Right? That seems quick. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right on there, sister. Right on. Donald tells investigators that also, there's a safe at the party rental store, which they would keep some money in. I think he said, if I remember right, it was around $500. So, in the safe, give or take, to operate the business. And the only two people with the combination to that safe was Kevin Sr. and his right-hand guy, Don Guido. So those are the only two that had access to that safe. Kevin always kept the combination of that safe in his wallet. Now, when Kevin's body was found, his wallet was missing. Jen, that wallet would be found a few days later and a few miles from Kevin's house. That piece of paper, however, was not in that wallet. It was missing.
So somebody had to know that he kept that piece of paper in his wallet. I wonder.
Yes. Well, it's funny you say that, Jen, because you know who is now able to get into that safe? Days later, a couple weeks maybe. Lynn. She's helping herself and her son to that safe. And, she's also in there helping run the store because now her and her son own it. And they're, making sure the day-to-day operations continuing. And by that, I mean, they're going to make it go belly up. She wanted the money. She did not want a store to run. She ended up selling off most of the store's items. See the chairs?
Oh, that was so
get
nice.
Rid of those tools out. I believe it lasted around 3-4 months, something like that, before
she liquidated it. Yeah, that was nice for her and her son, right? Keeping the business for her son.
She's a sweetheart. Police are now pretty sure Lynn knows way more than she's saying.
You think?
Yeah. But as is always the case, Jen, that's not enough to put her away. They need more. And that more comes from an unlikely source. Beware a woman scorned. 4 months pass when Julie Grain, Lynn's partner, calls officers. She wants to come and speak to them. A little information for them. Now, remember that alibi about Lynn and Julie watching movies all night? Yeah, Julie lied. Nope, didn't happen.
Shocking.
Julie tells officers that Lynn left the house before midnight and she didn't come back until early in the morning. When she came home, now here's a little note. Okay, so when she comes home, she asked Julie to lie for her. Should it ever come up? Anybody ever ask where I was on this day? Say we were watching
Just
TV.
FYI, yeah.
Just a little. So Julie complied, but now she's having some second thoughts about all this, that maybe Lynn was involved. I do believe Lynn at this point said, I need you to cover for me, and just so you know, I was not involved. Okay, first of all, somebody says that to you and ask you to cover, I think you might want to maybe check into it. Are you
saying that's a red flag?
I think that's a red flag beating you over the head is what that is. Officers learn that the two of them had a huge falling out. Of course, Julie gets a conscience then, huh?
Well, yeah.
But at least she got
Most
it. At least
do.
it came, right? Officers have Lynn come back to the station. They know that she is now the prime suspect, and they just need the whole story. But that story would have a twist, Jen. Always does, doesn't it? When investigators ask Lynn who killed Kevin Sr., she has an answer. And she says, want to take a guess?
Her son?
Nope.
No?
Julie, her girlfriend. Julie did it.
Oh, okay.
Julie killed Kevin Sr. Lynn Boyd confesses that it was Julie Grain who murdered Kevin, but Lynn also implicates herself as well. So she's saying it was the two of them, that they were there. So here's the story and how it unfolds. Lynn tells officers that on the night Kevin died, she went into the living room with Kevin asleep in his chair and savagely beat him with a baseball bat. Now, Julie steps in with the knife and starts stabbing him so severely it would amount to around 20 times. After he was dead, they went through the house and stole some guns. They also took Kevin's wallet. Police are stunned. I mean, they Julie just came and told on Lynn. Now Lynn's telling on Julie.
But that stabbing 20 times seems like you would have to be kind of angry at somebody.
You would think so. And that's hard. I mean, that's not...
I mean, emotionally and physically, for God's sakes. You would be exhausted. 20 times?
So why police are stunned. They're also not buying it, Jen. Because Julie's been talking to officers, and in fact, she passed a polygraph exam. There's just one little thing that kind of gave Lynn away. You know, like when people speak, a lot of times officers listen to if you speak in past tense and things like that. Mm-hmm. And it's something that your brain just kind of does, because if you know they're dead, right, you're not going to say Jen is a great girl, but you're going to say Jen was a great girl, right? Same thing here.
And that's a lie. I am a fantastic.
You are. I was just making the point there. Mm-hmm. You think you are, and that's what's important, Jen. Okay, so
that's all that matters, really.
Little issue here is not with the past tense, but with pronoun usage. It seems that as Lynn is telling officers the story and swearing it's all true, as she's telling them, she keeps using him and he when referring to Julie with the knife. Julie comes in, and he had the knife and went after Kevin. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So officers know that Julie was not involved. They already knew that. They just needed to know who else it was. And they're pretty sure that other person is Kevin Jr., mm-hmm. Kevin's own son. Kevin Jr. is brought into custody after his girlfriend admits she lied for him. She said that they did not watch movies. Well, they did at first, but then he left to go meet his mom around 11 o'clock. He did not stay with her all night, as the two had claimed. Neither Julie or his girlfriend would be charged with lying to officers, by the way. I didn't write that down, but that's true. At first, Kevin denied it all, but it doesn't take long for Kevin to come clean. And I guess that probably has to do with the fact that police had recovered one of the guns that Kevin took and incidentally sold to someone in Flint, Michigan. The police, you see, had received a call from a person who had sold it, and they found it in the backyard of a house in Flint. When police brought in the gun...
Person who had sold it or person who had bought it?
Sold it. So he sold it to somebody, and then
that person in turn sold it. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So it's making its rounds up there, and the person, I guess, kind of thought this was a little shady, a little weird. So police bring in this gun. They kind of lay it on the table and say, "You want to explain this, buddy?" Well, Kevin immediately starts crying. And this, by the way, was the first time... Well, this was the first time Kevin ever cried. He never cried talking to the police. He was so calm. You know, at first I was like, it's shock. But then I was like, it's going to hit you. You can't say those words to an officer that I saw my dad bludgeoned to death and not cry. And this was the first time he cried because you know what? He knew he was caught.
Mm-hmm. That's why he's crying. He was caught. Right.
Kevin tells them it was all his mother's idea to get rid of Kevin Sr. It was also Lynn and her manipulations that she had been perfecting for years on little Kevin Jr. that made this evil plan come true. Lynn started early, years before, telling Kevin Jr. lies, downright lies about Kevin Sr., such as he's drunk, he's an abuser, he doesn't love you, he never wanted you, he doesn't give me money. I mean, just, you know, and years of drilling this into Kevin Jr.'s head, it, you know, the rage inside a teenage boy, they have enough rage anyway. So this just adding all to it.
She's horrible.
This is a second horrible person, and I thought this only happened once. And remember Judith Hartley? It's crazy. For that, stay tuned to a different episode that I did about the same scenario where the mom talked the boy into killing the dad.
Father.
After years, little Kevin finally agreed that his father had to die. They would be rich with more money than they would ever need, Lynn would say. But she spent money faster than it came in the door.
Well, no offense, but $100,000 isn't...
Well, they had the businesses, too.
Well, so. I know, but it goes away quickly.
Totally.
It could be life-changing money for them.
It's not, Jen, because it's not going to be life-changing. Yeah. In the scheme. That's the important phrase there. You're going to go to prison. Yeah. So here's the story that Kevin Jr. would tell them. Kevin tells officers that it was he who yielded the bat, and he was the one that struck his father with that bat. As he was doing this, his mother would come in with the knife and stab Kevin Sr. repeatedly. Now, they did find the bat pretty soon. They determined that it was Kevin Jr.'s baseball bat. It was his own bat that he had, but they could never locate the knife. That was the one part of the puzzle that was missing. They didn't know what would happen to the knife. Fast forward to May 1995. Kevin's tool rental business, it's, you know, it was, she pretty much drove it into the ground. But they're auctioning off things and emptying it out and getting ready for it to go. When, don't you know it, they find a knife. That knife is wrapped in a T-shirt, and it was shoved back into like a
tool chest?
No, like a piece of machinery. I want to say like an air conditioning vent, something like that. It was like, it was hidden, but they're ripping out the business. They find that knife. The knife didn't at that point have blood on it, but when they turned it in and it was examined, it did turn out to be the murder weapon. So Lynn went back and hid the knife in Kevin Sr.'s own business. There's a special kind of cruelty with that, I believe.
She's just a monster. I hope they got her on child abuse charges too. Mental abuse, something. What she did to her son is unforgivable.
Oh, that's a great segue, Jen, because here we go. Okay. So Lynn and Kevin Boyd Jr. are both charged with capital murder. And again, Lynn gets a Mother of the Year award during her trial because guess who she blamed the entire thing on?
Oh, I'm sure. Yes, that's
her
fitting.
Son. Yeah. Yeah, so she blamed it all on her son. He did it, but she just felt so badly because that is her, blood that she loves. So she was just protecting him. So she wanted to take the blame, but she was totally innocent, she says.
Loves in quotations.
Kevin Jr., who, as you remember, was just 16 years old at the time of the crime, was tried as an adult. Both mother and son would receive a life in prison without parole. But I'm not done yet. See, I was waiting for you to say something, but you didn't.
No.
So this is Michigan. And if you remember, states went through and made the mandatory life sentences for teenagers, not yet adults, problematic. That was problematic. So the U.S. Supreme Court banned mandatory life without parole sentences for juveniles. Now, it didn't completely get rid of all of it, but they wanted the punishment, the sentence, if you will, to stay put on certain individuals. And those would be, quote, the rarest of children whose crimes reflect irreparable corruption. Okay, so Kevin Boyd was resentenced in 2019 under this new law. And because of that, he was sentenced to 25 to 60 years, which made him immediately eligible for parole because he'd already been in there 40 plus years, right? 40 something years. He was granted it and was released from prison on January 7th, 2020. According to the Michigan Department of Corrections records, the now 43-year-old is currently on parole, but it was dismissed in January 2022. So just 2 months ago. So he is out. Now, I did a little research on this because I was like, I don't know. I was trying to place my head in it. And there was an article that said, should, he did brutally murder his father. Should he really be sentenced to life in prison? And it got me thinking about Jennifer May, which still bothers me to this day. Another previous episode we did, which she got a life sentence for the crime, indicating that the person would have never been murdered had she not set him up, but he wasn't supposed to be murdered. It just happened. Kind of got me thinking about that and how, Kevin is out now and she's not, and different states operate differently. I don't know. It just got me thinking about all that. So what do you think? Do you think Kevin should have been released?
I think he was manipulated into doing it. I think his mother I don't think he would have done it if it wasn't for his mother. I don't think he would have even harmed his father if it wasn't for his mother.
I totally agree.
I think even 40 years is too long.
Well, he didn't spend 40 years. He got out 43. I'm sorry, but he went in at 16.
So he spent 30.
I don't do math, Jen. He did a lot. He did
30 years. That's a long time for...
Well, your whole...
I'm not saying he's completely innocent. No, he did what he did. But come on. He was young. He obviously had some sort of mental crisis all through his life. So he wasn't... And at 16, your brain doesn't fully develop until you're, 27? Right? Isn't that how it is?
52, if you're me.
Something.
I'm still waiting.
But no, I totally think he should have been out sooner, to be quite honest. I think a life in prison,
But then Jennifer May, do you think she should be doing life in prison?
She meant harm, just not death.
Well, they wanted to rob him. They wanted to rob the kid.
She meant something to come about it. And it was her plan. I think she planned it and it went awry. He didn't plan it. He didn't do anything but trust his mother when he was manipulated. Jennifer, me, the hiccup girl, she manipulated the people. You know what I'm saying?
They went in together, but
but
he would have not been there had he not been tricked into meeting her.
Correct.
For a date, which is AKA Netflix and chill, which is AKA sex, right? So if she didn't trick him into that, he would have never been there and he would have never been murdered. I think.
Correct.
She was younger too. I think she was 18. Was she 18? I can't remember right off, but yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough call because it's two separate things.
Circumstances, correct?
Right.
States,
it's apples and oranges.
Where you kill people matters. I mean, it does.
And to me, it's apples and oranges. You can't compare the two because although she didn't mean to have the man killed, she planned it. It just went wrong. So she was the reason that it happened. Whereas the Kevin, he was just a pawn in his mother's playbook.
What a terrible person. And then to hide the knife in the rental business building. To
blame, to say, oh, what a great person I am. My son really did it, but I'm just taking
Julie
the fall
too.
for it.
Julie, yeah. I'm sure Julie was like, what?
To blame Don Lucarelli, to blame him first, and then to blame her lover who turned her in, and then to say it's all her son. I mean, the woman obviously has done no wrong in all of this because she keeps blaming other people for her actions.
Obviously. She's still in prison though.
But
I would like to know
piece of work.
I would like to know if her and her sons are in contact. I hope probably not. Say no, but you never know.
Can you imagine how devastating that would be to find out your mother totally set you up for all of this? I mean, especially one person 16. In the world who's supposed to love you and protect you from everything, the one person that you should always be able to trust, and she totally does this to you, to your own father. If he didn't have any problems before, I hope he got
mentally
therapy while he's in prison.
Yeah, and he did. He got his high school equivalency diploma. I guess he got some vocational training in there, and no substance abuse problems, no write-ups. So I think being 16 and in prison with a bunch of adult males, that would be scary. Scary.
Oh, prison would be scary anyway. But come on, that mother. I hope she I hope she dies behind bars. She's horrible.
All for a little money. Whatever. Yeah. Sorry I said whatever. It's just I was going to go off on a rant, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to, Jen, because I'm a better person than that. So that was the case. It kind of, when I stumbled upon this, I was like, no way, not again, because of the Judith Hockey, the episode where she tricked her son or tricked the stepson into killing his own father. Which I still think that's even worse than this, I believe. But still. So anyway, that's the case for you, Jen. What have you been watching on TV? Anything good?
Miss Maisels. I'm getting ready tonight to watch the last 2 episodes of the season, and I'm very sad. I've been reading for my next episode for next week. Been really, really concentrating on my fitness. For my fitness and physical health, like really concentrating for like the past 3 hours. I just started. Okay. So that should last to the end of the day.
Nobody can call you a quitter.
I'm not a quitter. That's about it. Pieces of Me or Pieces of Her. I started that. That is on, is it Netflix? It's with, I can't think of her name. She got famous. Tara. She was on Sixth Sense Woman. I love her, and I can't think of her name right now.
Toni Collette. Yes.
I
love playing these games. I love these games like this, especially when I'm right.
And it's Pieces of Her. Really like it. It's a thriller. I've seen it.
What is it about? Give me a little info.
It's first episode was March on 2022.
I think I watched it. I think I watched the first episode. I know I did, but I can't remember what it was about.
It says a woman pieces together her mother's dark past after a violent attack in her small town brings hidden threats and deadly secrets to life. There's 8 episodes. I think I'm on 5. I'm enjoying it. It's fun.
Good.
It's Toni Collette, Bella Heathcote. The only other person that I really knew by name was Gil Birmingham.
I do have 2 movie recs for our fine listeners out there that I watched yesterday. Both of these were really, really good. One is called Thin Ice, and it's kind of reminds me of Fargo. Greg Kinnear's in it, and it is, both of these have good twist at the ending, which, you know, it was good. So go watch that. Thin Ice, it's on Amazon. I think it came out in 2011. Alan Arkin, Greg Kinnear's in it. Greg Kinnear's the lead. And then the other one is from my future husband that I'm going to marry, Charlie Hunnam, who you know I love so much. It is called Last Look, and it's sort of like a vintagey crime thriller of like, it's kind of funny, sort of film noir, but not. But anyway, he's in it. It's got a twist too, and I love him. That's all I'm going to say about that. I do love him. Both of those were really good. Like, I thought they were really good and funny. I watched them both back to back because I'm a loser, and they both have twist at the end. So I was like, so check it out.
Interesting.
It's good. And Charlie, I'm ready to get married. The answer is yes. Yes. Any day you call me.
You're saying yes to the dress.
I'm saying, no, I don't even care about the dress. I'm just saying yes to Charlie. He's got a girlfriend of 15 years, but that's okay. She can live in the backyard. I'm okay with that because I love him.
She's not an obstacle. Well, what do you think about the news about Gabby Petito's family suing Brian Laundrie's parents?
I can't believe they waited that long. That was the first thing I would have thought of right when, I know they had to get their ducks in a row, but right when all this happened and they were calling saying, where's our daughter? I would have been like,
she blocked her. Brian Laundrie's mother blocked Gabby Petito's mother from Facebook, wouldn't answer any of her phone calls. What a...
Could you imagine? The hurt? But that...
I'm worried the lawsuit won't really go through because how do you prove that they knew?
You can't really, but
you can't.
We all know. The whole world,
and I'm hoping
knows.
If it does go before a jury,
yeah.
that I mean, this case is so huge. I can't believe anybody would not have heard of it before.
Yeah.
So getting an impartial jury might be hard, but seriously, can't understand how a parent would let another parent suffer like that.
Well, I think in their head,
but they knew he had a gun. They knew he was going to kill himself. They knew it. They knew it all.
Totally.
They gave him a burner phone.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that who knows what goes through people's mind. Maybe they were thinking, you lost your daughter and I'm going to lose my son. We both suffer. But what they don't get is that they lost their daughter because of their son. So different,
I don't know. It just drives me insane.
And
speaking about bad parenting, and I shouldn't complain because I'm not the perfect mother at all. You can ask my kids that. And that's what they'll tell you. But seriously, I would never, me. And I've stated many, many times, I would turn in my kids as quickly as I know.
I think I brought this up on the podcast. The co-teacher that I work with has 3 daughters. And we've talked about this. And he said that if his child murdered somebody, that would be it. He'd have nothing to do with her. And I'm like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And he's like, nope, she'd be dead to me. And I'm like, I don't believe that because you have to look at yourself and how that all came about too. So I said, like, if my son or my daughter, I love them. They're my child. I don't like what they did. In fact, I would hate what they did, but I couldn't write them off because you have to look at yourself. How did it get there? I mean, if you look back, I'm not sure, and I could be wrong, but I bet you Brian Laundrie, if he was beating her, why? Where did he get that from? Because, usually
did they know that he was abusing abusers her?
Or was he beat? Do you see what I'm saying? So you got to question yourself how that all came about. So as a parent, you have to have some responsibility. Unless it's that fluke serial killer where you have 5 kids and all of them are fine except for the one. And then
nature versus nurture. Yeah.
Boy, we got lots of opinions on today's show. I feel like this is a radio talk show.
No, it aggravates. I don't even have the words. I can't even speak because I get so upset with that.
Giving him a burner phone, knowing he had a gun, they had to know he was going to go kill himself.
Did they suggest that he go do that? Did they? I don't even.
I would rather see my child in prison than dead.
I'm just asking.
Right? I think everybody would rather see their child in prison than dead. That's just.
I would.
You're not supposed to bury your child before you.
Yeah, I don't know the truth. I don't know if this is all lies or if I'm just making up a rumor, but did they tell him? Did they suggest it that he go off himself? They had to have known
I agree.
that he was going to go do that. I mean, I would have fought tooth and nail to get him to stay home. Unless he just went without them knowing. But yet he had a burner phone.
I would have called the police on him because
Well, the police were already on him. So his dog, and a lot of good dog did.
Dog.
You disappoint
I really
me, dog.
wanted that to happen because that would have been just, oh, America, I can't make that stuff up.
A highlight, but no.
Well, and the sad part is, and we said this, there's so many missing people that have been victims of domestic violence, but we don't hear about them. That day that she disappeared, another girl disappeared under exact same circumstances, the boyfriend, and they still haven't found her. So I can't remember her name. I posted it the day it happened because I was like, here's this adorable Black girl, early 20s, boyfriend beat her, and she's gone missing. But we don't even see, I can't even remember her name, but it was on my Facebook.
That's sad.
So it's just, missing people. How certain things hit with the media and certain things don't.
Oh, the white, yeah.
Madeleine McCain, adorable child, but how many 3 and 4 year olds are abducted? We just had the one here in St. Charles, and they found the non-custodial parent took her from St. Charles from the social worker, and she was found in Utah. Thank goodness. Both of them were fine. Both of them were safe, but it happens. She made it all the way to Utah in 2 days or something like that?
St. Louis has a little bit of problem of young Black children
going missing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And yet you never hear anything about it.
Nope.
Maybe we should start doing a little episode or a little podcast about that, Camille.
Well, I told you that little idea I had with you that we're not going to say on the air right now because we're going to work on it. But in fact, I looked into this one, and it's from us. There's a billboard on Highway 55, and his name is Patrick Chapman. Mm-hmm. And I looked into that, and it's definitely something's
suspicious.
Amiss. Something is wrong. But that was I was going to reach out to his family. They actually, on the last snow day that we had at the end of February, they were supposed to do a gathering and do a grid search, and they were asking for the public to come and help, but it snowed. So that's been delayed. Well, but stay tuned.
Keep in touch with them, and we'll see if we can help in any way.
Yeah.
So anyway, you have anything going on for this week?
No. Do you? And I don't think I have anything next weekend either.
No, I think actually that my daughter has been in indoor marching band. Didn't even know that was a thing. I think it's a new thing.
They move. Instead of just standing there, it's a performance.
That's because it's a marching band. It's indoor
I know,
marching.
but that threw me. It was kind of cool.
They had a competition this weekend, got first, which is amazing. They sound amazing. They look amazing. And they've been doing this all of February and March, basically. But we finally get a weekend off next weekend. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Actually, my husband usually goes on the band competition part because one was in Indiana.
Band duty?
Yeah. And then he's on band duty, oldest daughter, and I'm always on youngest daughter duty, which youngest daughter duty is, she's a social butterfly.
She is a social, but she can't stay home for 2 hours.
She's never home. Never.
Or be alone for either she's going somewhere or
she's never going to be home. Once she starts driving at 16, never going to see her.
Yeah.
Seriously, never will see her. But yeah, I was very thankful that I got to see them last night.
Yeah.
They were at cute. Fort Zumwalt East.
Yeah. It was cool. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't either. It was amazing. And there's one of the bands that was there was actually just percussion. And they march and they dance and they twirl.
Do you remember the name of it?
E-Force or Emotion Force or something like that.
I think
it was Fort Zumwalt. It's Fort Zumwalt's percussion. And it's quite a show. I mean, there's lights.
I have an affinity for drummers.
Oh. Well, it's not just drummers. It's xylophones. It's...
I have an affinity for drummers only.
Oh, no, I know. They were amazing. I mean, these kids are talented. The snare drums, they were clean. The tom-toms, clean. I mean, it was amazing. You know me, I get really emotional when it comes to music. So this whole time my daughter's playing, I'm about to cry. The drummers are out there. It's full of emotion for me. It's amazing.
Why does it make you cry?
Good music makes me cry. I cannot go to a musical without crying.
Really?
I bawled during Wicked. I totally lost my shit at Les Miserables. Oh yeah. Trust me, music calms a savage beast, man. And I cry.
Interesting. Not me.
I get goosebumps.
Never cried on Broadway.
I cry. Yeah. It heals my soul.
Oh, that's nice, Jen.
I love Broadway music. I'm that nerd. I'm that nerd girl that loves that stuff. But anyway, that's it. That's all about me.
All right. Well, don't forget, we are going to be in Dallas in August. Jen, the dates are...
True Crime Podcast Festival. I believe
Yes.
it's the 26th and 27th.
You guys are out there or nearby, come see us. It's going to be amazing. It's really fun. It's fun to just hang out with podcasters because
we'll be there in the evening. You can come have drinks and dinner with us if you want. You can go to truecrimepodcastfestival.com and buy your tickets. It's really not that expensive, to be quite honest.
And you'll have a blast. You really will.
You'll have a blast, and we would love to.
Who are some of the podcasters that are going to be there?
So far, I know Gen Y is going to be there. Aaron and Justin. There's
Generation Y.
Josh from True Crime Bullshit. Charlie from Crime Lines. Nina from Already Gone. Eric from True Consequences. Lainey from True Crime Podcast Fan Club. Robin, my birthday twin from The Trail Went Cold. True Consequences, Eric. Bob from Defense Diaries, the John Wayne Gacy, which was great if you haven't listened to it. Sinead from Men's Ria. She's coming all the way from Ireland.
Ooh.
Our favorite girls from True Crime Rhymes with Vodka.
They are awesome. I love them.
Dr. Shiloh from LA Not So Confidential. That's another great podcast. Our friends from Cults, Crimes, and Cabernet will be there. A whole bunch of Lars, Rusty Hinges, the Paranormal chicks will be there. Totally Love. And also, what I'm really excited about, Mike.
Us?
Besides us. Mike Brown from Pleasing Terrors, which I really want to meet him. He does all these good ghosty type things. Like he runs ghost tours down in Savannah. I think is it Savannah? Somewhere. I don't know, but I'm excited to meet him. I haven't met him before.
And that's they'll probably
in person.
be more.
I've talked to him online. Yeah. Oh, Kelly from True Crime Real Life is going to be there too.
There'll probably be more signing up, so stay tuned. We'll try to announce those. We'll remember. And I'm sorry to bombard you with this.
One more. Other friends, Seriously Sinister, Amanda and Kevin. Love those two. They're so much fun.
So if anybody else signs up, we'll just remember to.
There's more, but I don't know them yet, and I can't wait to meet them. So,
okay.
But those are all the people that we personally know, and that I will tell you that they are all wonderful. And they're all cool.
I promise you, if you come to the festival, you will have fun.
You will have fun. All these podcasters are really cool, and they're really nice.
Except for that Jen from OTCP.
It's not what I heard. I heard it's the other one.
No, it's not really me. It's me. It's Cam. It's me. Anyway.
I've got documented proof on that, too.
I know. Thanks. Thanks for bringing that up, Jen. Appreciate that. Getting that on a t-shirt. Thanks, Eric, for giving me that idea, and I am getting that on a t-shirt.
But anyway,
anyway, I think we've been chatty enough. I think we need to let the good people go.
Thanks for listening.
And remember, Jen, lock your doors.
And keep passing those open windows.
Bye-bye.
Love ya.
Today's episode was researched and written by me, Cam. For more information about this episode, as well as all the sources I used, please check out our show notes or the podcast website at ourtruecrimepodcast.com. Our True Crime Podcast is developed and created by hosts Jen and Cam. Original music and audio mix of all our True Crime Podcast episodes is courtesy of Nico Vertesi from We Talk of Dreams. Listener discretion is provided by Edward October from October Pod VHS. Our True Crime Podcast is executive produced by Nico Vertesi and Dick Bain. Make sure to like and subscribe to Our True Crime Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. We can be reached on Instagram and Facebook at Our True Crime Podcast or on Twitter at Our True Crime Pod. You can email us at ourtruecrimepodcast@gmail.com. If you really like the show, make sure to check out our Patreon at Our True Crime Podcast. Our True Crime Podcast is an OTC production. The blood spatter on the wall would let him know it was no accident.
Good job in saying spatter, by the way.
Oh, I know. I wrote it in capital letters. Thank you to that person.